if you don't know where you're going to be on January 1st, 2023, and what matchups you'll be watching on that day, you're paying the rake. Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally at this point. You're right.
Erik Beimfohr, welcome back to the show. Was the last time you were? No, you've had to have been on since last summer's show, right?
I can't really remember because all I've been thinking about for the last 3 months is New Year's Day 2023. So I don't really remember a lot of the guest appearances that I've made. I'm really just hyper focused, married to the game, if you will.
That's right. No, that's how I want to make sure, because sometimes I question, everyone's. I'm trying to think here. Does this help if I do this? Just grab it from my spreadsheet. Just to make sure our ticker here. I'll have to work on the formatting here, but if you know the schedule, you get it. You get it.
Oh man, we're making a shirt. We're making a shirt. It's gonna be glorious. I'm really excited.
Why is
for
Jax
all the
next to each other twice? Is Jax playing Jax?
I don't know what happened. I just copied from my spreadsheet. Oh, it's because Houston plays KC, Tennessee, and Jacksonville, and then Jacksonville's next alphabetically. So
got it. So these are the 3 matchups for each team.
This is the 3 matchups. Yes. Here's your cheat sheet. No, but Erik, how have you been, dude?
It's been wonderful. I was trying to look before, but I got distracted with the basketball game. And last year, it took a long time throughout the offseason to kind of really shake things up in the whole best ball space, right? Last year was the first big year of drafting, and then one of these streams, we did the wide receiver thing, and the next thing the whole draft market shifted. Now we're barely out of May. It's June 8th. I literally had to check the date. It's June 8th. And we already have everybody triggered about the stupid, so stupid week 17 thing. So I feel like we're making progress. I'm anxious to see.
They really
next
are
year.
triggered. Yeah.
What happens next year? What are we going to talk about in February? While the Super Bowl is going, are we going to be streaming about what our strategy is for next year? I don't know, but we're making progress.
What I love about the week 17 thing is that even people who agree with the week 17 thing are also still just triggered by the whole conversation. Yes, of course, but please stop.
I mean, I was DMing with Erik about it too, and I was like, I don't know. I put out the video. Erik's been talking a lot about it at Spike Week. I guess I haven't seen it. I know some of the ETR guys, Jack Miller's written up a few good pieces about it, but I haven't really seen it that many places other than that. But everyone is mad. Everyone is mad about this right now. Their precious best ball game has been ruined by these.
It seems like it was it was just your video that did. It was a very good video. I mean,
it was a great video.
You've there's a meta here where you used to make fun of the groupthink, and now when you make something serious, it's immediately the groupthink that everyone wants to smash.
It was funny how the sausage gets made on that, because I've been working with Michael Dubner on those videos. He's helped out a ton, and we were trying to rack our brain for good titles for that video, because everyone now does the how to win $2 million playing best ball. It's we've all seen that a million times, so it's just white noise. And I had the epiphany too. I was like, week 17 is all that matters. That is good clickbait, and it will trigger the shit out of a lot of people, and apparently it did.
I just realized the logical end to the meta I just described is you mocking. You have to have a mocking video now.
You gotta put out a video of week 17.
Well, that just what was it in the Dynasty guy video? He was giving the ship chasers the jerk off motion for their Sky Moore love. So yeah, I think I do have to do another Best Ball Bros sequel. We just have so many. I mean, Erik, think about even the vocabulary that has changed. When I made that video last year, I mean, so many of the things we talk about now, barbell, week 17, this wasn't even part of the vernacular.
No, it's fucking nuts, dude. It took a whole year. It took a whole year to now like memeing Trey Lance, right? That's it. This year, like before this whole week 17 thing came about, all I'm doing is kind of your stupid bit videos, because it's not really worthwhile to put out this serious content, because you either get the people like on the show listening to it, or like in your Discord, in my Discord, whatever, where we can have some serious conversation about it. But like on Twitter and whatever, we just joke around. And now, but the feedback loop is so fast now. Like last year, it was like we were all willing to have real conversations about all of this. I legitimately believe that like the week 17 thing is like something we figured out. Like we all knew it last year, right? We talked about it. I mean, we talked about it on this show. You talked about it on your streams. We talked about it on the stream that we did that on the Best Ball Mania team that did really well.
Picked James Conner because he was playing our Dallas Cowboys stack.
Exactly. Half the picks we made were because of the week 17 thing. But last year, for whatever reason, it didn't stick with people. And now like that feedback loop, it was like a lot of people, I'm not calling myself smart, but a lot of smart people started to figure out like, like in your video, all the money is in week 17. Like literally all the money is in week 17. So I should probably try to do my best to optimize for that. That's all we've said. And I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, everybody is just like, oh, all they ever talk about is week 17. And like, that's not true, but it's like the zero RB. It's the new zero RB. It's 100% the new zero RB. Like there's no middle ground to be had in this whole conversation.
You're like going to need 10 more years of arguing to get to the new zero RB.
I hope I'm retired. I hope I'm not doing this in 10 years.
I'm of two minds about this, because on the one hand, before the draft, I was like, I should enter some puppy slows. And of course, I accidentally entered a puppy fast, which I'm in right now. And, and so getting sniped on AJ Green in the 16th round is like such a gross feeling of like, I was going to draft him and now I can't, but I need him because I have Kyler. And I already have Kyler double stacked and I have got a Drake London bring back, but I still wanted that sweet triple stack. So from that sense, like week 17 is dumb and we should stop talking about it. But I think there's also like some meat left on the bone here with this conversation, because like not only is week 17 like so much more important than advancing, but like week 16 is also way more important than advancing. And like, like doing well in week 15 is also way more important than advancing. So like, I think like there's still some more triggering to come here on kind of like how, because right, we're taking a game, this best ball game, that's been primarily about like being able to win your 12 team leagues consistently, or maybe even like grinding 3-mans and 6-mans or whatever, and just like almost like a cash game strategy. And it's now transformed to this super top heavy tournament structure, which is like a completely different game, to the point like I think we're all still kind of realizing just how different it is from like best ball.
And I do think now, again, we're obviously in such a bubble for the people who are still attacking it this way. But I don't know how you feel, Eric, but what I feel like I almost want to have an addendum or a PSA of like, there is diminishing returns to reaching for these stacks. And I almost feel like it's now, okay, say there's a cohort of us who are hammering this strategy. The best at employing this are now going to be the most patient of that cohort, who can sit and wait on their correlation. You're going to get more naturally unique teams because that cohort is reaching to get these stacks and is going to have similar stacks repeated over and over. Who can build the super teams with the correlation and be patient enough to sit on it? I feel like that is now the game for me.
Pat was afraid 100%. He was going to get auto drafted, so he had to drop off.
Exactly. He's got to focus on this puppy draft. But I actually think that's the thing that gets missed the most in any like strategic conversation, is that it becomes binary. It becomes, oh, all you care about is week 17. And that is absolutely not true, right? You still have to, Leone replied to one of the tweets that I had and said it really, really perfectly. It was so smart. Basically calling it, as long as you're like, so we have to put all these addendums on these things, right? But as long as you're still drafting a structurally smart team, right? You don't have 6 quarterbacks. You're drafting, you're not reaching 2, 3, 4 rounds on players. Like, as long as we put those caveats in, you get to a tier of players, right? Like you talked about in the draft we did last year. Are we going to take James Conner, or are we going to take whoever, right? Another very similar running back in the 10th round. Well, you take that. It's like a tiebreaker. It's like on this team for this structure of best ball tournament now, that that player makes more sense, but he doesn't always make more sense, right? Even if you have Arizona guys or Atlanta guys, or last year it was Cowboys and Cardinals guys, that player doesn't always make sense, right? If you started a robust running back team, you don't take James Conner there. So there's a lot. It's like the third or fourth rung down the list when you're doing the drafts. And so I just I don't really get why it's even like a triggering thing, because it's just like I've reached a tier, right? I've reached a tier. And now, how do I decide between guys that project the exact same, right? It's just like in DFS. I have two guys that project within 0.2 points of each other. Well, I'm going to choose the things that make the most sense on that lineup, right? I'm not just going to pick the guy that projects for 0.1 more. I'm going to pick the guy that makes the most sense on that lineup. So I don't know why this is any different.
Yeah, and
because people are stupid. I mean, this is when you say it's a new zero RB, it's a new zero RB in that regard. That like everything you just said made perfect sense, but people don't love uncertainty, right? So like what you just described about players being in similar tiers requires us to acknowledge what we've been trying to talk about with zero RB and so many other strategies for years. That NFL seasons are chaotic and we don't know a lot. We're gonna have misses. We have to bake in some resiliency. We have to try to build an anti-fragile team that can actually get better within chaos. Because there's going to be chaos. There's going to be a lot of uncertain events, but like everyone wants to predict. They want to, I know better. Why would you take this player over this player? This player is definitely better. I mean, everything you said made perfect sense. But people,
it feels less like zero running back to me and more like some like DFS GPP strategy stuff. Where like,
yeah,
Pete, like it feels like the thing. Like I watch your shows and you're like, guys, we cannot eat the chalk D. We can't do it. And it's like every week you're like, but they're like, but this week can we eat the chalk D? And you're like, still no. Like it feels more like that, where like people are kind of on board. They want to be on board. There's some, but like we're all still kind of figuring out like what the optimal way to play is. So there's this ongoing conversation, but there's also like these biases that you're fighting, that you want to draft a certain way. Like even if you shouldn't eat the chalk D, you still kind of want to that week because it's such a good play or whatever it is. It feels more like that than zero RB, where people have gone to their camps and they're sharpening their weapons.
But it's similar, though, I think, from the DFS perspective. Sorry, Pete. I was just going to say, because I've obviously, like, I came from DFS, so a lot of this is where my mind, naturally gravitates to, is these kinds of things. I also think that's why, like, Pete came across this, why a lot of us all think the same, is because we come from DFS. I don't really come from, I know you guys kind of do more than me. Like I don't come from traditional season. Like I haven't been grinding the main event for years and like trying to, pick the best plays or whatever. Sorry, my computer literally just like started putting something in my ears. That was freaking me out for a second.
Those high stakes grinders who've been grinding the main event for years, even since before I've been doing it, definitely care about the playoffs. Like every year they were looking at weeks 14, 15, 16 back in the day. Every year. Like that's one of the first things I learned from Sean, was that he cared a lot about the matchups and
Pat, remember when we did Fantasyland, our very first trip, and we were interviewing the grinders and they were talking to us about the schedule. And I remember that was like a light bulb moment for you and me, that we're like, oh, we had never even thought of looking at the week 14 through 16 at the time.
And just to close out the point, the DFS angle, it reminds me so much of talking with Blender, right? So for like more than a year, I podcasted with Blender every week, and his big shtick, if you don't know, Jordan Cooper at Blender HD on Twitter, is like, he's like, play whoever you want. That's his thing. But what it goes back to is like, people be like, do you like this guy or this guy? And he's like, I don't fucking know. Look at the projection. I don't care. These are chess pieces. And that's what it is in best ball too. People are not, it's not ingrained in us that they're in DFS. We kind of are now. It's such a mature industry. In best ball, it's not. People are like, no, watch the film on this guy. And you're like, I mean, yeah, you like that plays into my rankings and my projections and all of that. But then once I reach a certain point that player is at the same tier on my rankings and projects the same as everybody else, then we move on to the next, next lever that I pull. And like, but people, I feel like in best ball, we haven't reached the point where that's like the market can in DFS 100%. We're way past that. We're way more advanced. Like Pete's talking to Brick, and Brick is doing shit that I never even, can dream of in his models and stuff. But we just haven't got there in best ball.
And it's funny you say the whole play whoever you want, because I was thinking about that as far as constructions too. And I was thinking like draft whoever you want. Like I truly think in the first 3 to 4 rounds, assuming you're not maybe taking like 2 QBs within the first 4, you can build a logical, well-made team based on whatever you do in those first 4 or 5 rounds. And it's just, it's what you do after that. It's the whole thing with hyperfragile is always the best example. You can start 3 RBs. That is completely fine. It's do you take your feet off the gas and then reallocate all your capital to the other positions. And that's what I think is so fun about this. It's like, I never feel comfortable nitpicking a draft board until like round 6, because it's still like, this is a choose your own adventure at the start.
Yeah. And it's like the blender thing. It's, if you want to eat the chalk running back that week, eat the chalk running back, but then but then don't eat the chalk stack with the chalk bring back, like if you're playing a GPP, that's not going to work out. So it's kind of like this, like if you want to start 2 or 3 running backs, like start 2 or 3 running backs, but then don't take that 4th. don't take the 4th in round 5. That's going to hurt.
Then when all of the money is in week 17, right? Similar to a DFS tournament, all the money is at the top. So you are not building to min cash. Why are you having the conversation that you just mentioned, right? Dalvin Cook's out. Alexander Mattison is 5K. He's going to be 80% owned. I'm going to play him. I decided I'm going to play him. He projects too well or whatever. Then, right, Ryan Tannehill to AJ Brown is also going to be the highest owned stack. It's like, okay, I probably can't play that. Like, and I can't. And then the Eagles are facing whatever offense. They're going to be a 30% owned defense. You have to start making decisions because all the money is at the top. And how do I get there? It's not by playing the same guys that everybody else does. So the week 17 thing is the same thing. All the money is in week 17. So once I reach a point similar to, okay, I decided on Alexander Mattison. I decided on these first 6 picks in my draft. Now, how do I decide that gives me the best chance to win this game that we're playing this game? And like, we don't have to if you don't like the payout structure, that's fine. Like, don't play, but this is the game that we're playing and it's all that money is there. So you should make your decisions after that fact accordingly.
What do you think about this question? Because do you have a good example for this, Eric? Josh says, what about when the ADP is influenced by week 17 considerations already? I don't know if I can spot one that's specifically due to week 17.
No, because it's
Justin
not about
Ross probably is because fair. People want to stack
late
up
round.
Those late round guys that are like part of those really popular game stacks. I imagine that
KJ Hamler, Josh Palmer.
KJ Hamler. Those guys are all going to be steamed up.
Is he going ahead of Tim Patrick now? Because he's still several rounds under that.
No, still well behind Tim Patrick.
Tim Patrick probably fits into that because he goes. Yeah. I mean, this is Tim Patrick we're talking about, and he goes pretty high.
I think Van Jefferson probably goes higher than he might. Like all those.
But those are games. Those are specific games. That doesn't. We're not talking about. Week 17 is not about spotting right now the game on New Year's Day 2023 that's going to score the most points. It's about correlating from within, right? If I take AJ Brown, Pat and I talked about, Pat came on one of my shows the other a week ago, and we talked about, man, actually in week 17, that Eagles Saints game looks kind of gross, which sucks because we were really excited about the Eagles. But that doesn't mean don't take Eagles. But like Chris Olave or whatever, or whoever ends up being the second running back on the Saints, you tell me who it is, right? Jameis, those guys aren't getting steamed. It's just a correlation thing. It's like, if I took this guy, when I get to this round and I'm in a structure that requires a wide receiver, I take Chris Olave in that one, or I take Jarvis Landry in that one, even though I don't really care about those guys.
You've already made we're going to see.
Yep.
I think we're going to see at the end of the season that there's going to be some games that are way more correlated than other games, which I'm not saying like necessarily should be the case, but like not even. So I think there's 2 things. One, people are like, I'm going to stack up the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, Broncos, the LA Bowl. There's a couple games where you're like, those are enticing just out the gate. People might be like, I'm going to try to stack up that game. But then also, if you get a Chief, you're like, you're getting a Bronco. Like that's one that you're not going to you're going to make an effort to mini correlate that one. Whereas if you get a Panther, maybe you don't bother trying to prioritize a buck or whatever it is. So I think, right, don't you think that like just naturally, so maybe a pivot off that is like making more of an effort to prioritize mini stacks across the board rather than the ones that are going to be like super heavily correlated probably.
Well, that's
there's a bunch of specific questions about questions about like specific game. Like Casey says, we want to put all our faith in Vegas Week 17 totals. I mean, Eric just hit that.
No,
this is the exact point that we aren't trying to identify which game is the best. There's one thing we can predict. We know which teams are playing, and we know that correlation is a factor. It does not matter which game. You should just be correlating the pairs. I literally have zero bias on what I'm not going after just the teams I think are going to have a 50+ point team total. I mean, even think to it on a week-to-week basis in DFS. The chalk players end up coming from the highest projected total games. You know, when Dallas and Arizona are playing and it's a 55-point total, that's where all the chalk concentrates. But how many times do we see a team take it down with a 48-point total game, a 46-point? Like, that's what we're doing here. We can't predict the Week 17 game. We just can predict the correlation.
Even in DFS in a given week, we don't know what game's going to blow up. I mean, remember late last year when Rex Burkhead went off and Houston LAC won all the money? Like, I mean, Levitan won all the money playing both Justin Jackson and Rex Burkhead. I mean, that was smart as hell. But even on a 1-week sample, when we know what the team's pass rates are, and we know what the matchups are, we know who's injured, we know what everything's going to be, we're still not right. That's not how football works. It's like sometimes the game just shoot out. Sometimes there's an early pick six. There's a schematic thing that the team saw, and they get a lot more pass heavy, whatever. Obviously, you can't predict that in June. I mean, that's like I'm not even drafting much, but I can hear you guys say this for 5 minutes and figure out what the hell you guys are saying, but it doesn't stick in. You got to be way more comfortable with uncertainty. I say that when you're doing zero RB drafts and everything. Like, people are not comfortable with uncertainty, with uncomfortability. Like, stack Houston, Jacksonville. I don't know if Bullock is
he's being serious. He's being serious. I know he's being serious.
Fucking just go for it. Why can't that game shoot out? That's the bigger question. Why
to that point? Well, here's a piggybacking on that. You get to the 16th round, and you went robust running back. So it's wide receiver time, right? 16, 17, 18.
Theoretically, but these guys are sick, Eric.
That's true. You're right. You're right. But you drafted.
Did you go robust because you're already dead, or you're saying you went hyper fast?
Yes, bust is the key part of that phrase. But you need wide receivers, right? Whatever your structure is, you need wide receivers in these late rounds. That game is perfect, and you can plan ahead for that. You can be like, okay, I get to this spot. Guess what? John Mechie, Nico Collins, welcome to the team in the 16th round or whatever. And then
Brevin Jordan is available late. If you still want to ride the Visca train, he's back there. I'm drafting Zay Jones, right? There's fucking Dan Arnold. You want to get super crazy. But there's options, right? I don't give a shit about the names. There's options for you to figure out a little backdoor. Even Marvin Jones goes really late.
I
don't want to draft Marvin Jones, but he goes late.
Yeah, I don't either. But you know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. Like, those, just do that. It's like, does anyone actually I'm probably not going to watch Houston Jacksonville game, but it's like that little, like, when you get to that point and your team has dictated.
That feels like it should be Thursday night, right?
I hope
Pat,
not.
the fact that you don't know
off
the stream. I mean, you had one job to memorize the schedule.
You don't have to memorize the days.
Yes, you do. Yes,
you got to know if that's a short week. Defenses might not be rested.
Exactly.
I wasn't having any technical difficulty, so Pete booted me.
It's Cowboys Titans on that Thursday, FYI, Pat.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
I don't know.
Even more reason to fade Derrick Henry.
Do we call him Jay Wiki? I don't know how to say his name, but he said if there's absolutely 3 games that are getting steamed, if they're all valued equally roughly right now, that means it's def plus EV to fade.
Well, those are going to be chalk games.
But
not fade, but not reach to build stacks from the. What I always like to talk about is building my teams from the back to the front. Yeah. And I think most people, especially with these games, build their teams from the front to the back. So they start in round 1, and you're like, I got Jamar Chase. Boom, Bills Bengals stack. Right? I'm gonna take whatever. I'm gonna get my Josh Allen, or I'm gonna get my Joe Burrow. I'm gonna get my Gabe Davis. I'm gonna get Diggs. Whatever. However it works out in your draft, they force it from the front. And I think you should do the opposite. Just kind of let it flow to you, right? If you take Chase and Diggs falls to you, which never happens, but if it happens, Yeah, sure, of course. But you don't just like, oh, now I got to take Josh Allen. And then in the third, now I got to take T. Higgins. And now I'm going to reach around for Joe Burrow. That's how you lose, even though you targeted a good game.
Imagine how triggered everyone would be if we said you can't take Steph Diggs in round 1 because he's the chalk week 17 game stack.
That is a good
That's
bit.
what they would really turn.
What I was going to say is these games are getting steamed for good reason. I mean, they're all good offenses. They're probably going to be good offenses in week 17. There's not like a legit reason for us to be fading them this far in advance either. But I really like the way Eric just put that, because my answer to that question, and I would be less knowledgeable than any of you, but it would be that you have 18 roster spots, 20 roster spots, whatever they are in these drafts these days. In DFS, like the question is sort of assuming sort of like in DFS, what game do we fade because it's the chalky game? You can stack like 4 games in a best ball draft is my point. So you can have this and Houston, Jacksonville. You know, you probably still want exposure to those 3 games in some form. But like you said, Eric, you don't need to go straight for a full game stack from round 2, 3, 4. You can take Chase. You can wind up taking Gabe Davis, and that's your little mini correlation. You hope that when that game shoots out a little bit, those guys both have multiple touchdown games. They're the big parts of that game. But it's not like the huge big winner. You have multiple other plays. You have Houston, Jacksonville. Right. You have other stuff going on.
Right. You took Kyler and Hollywood on that team too, and that with the Drake London bring back or whatever as your quote unquote main. It's like in a DFS. Like in DFS, we use I call them secondary correlations. I'm doing that across all my best ball teams. That's actually probably what takes more of my brain energy in a draft. Is like I took DeAndre Swift. Okay, I either put them in the queue, right, or in the back of my head, I got the Bears there. I don't need to stack them just because I took DeAndre Swift, but I'm just thinking about when a tier comes. Okay, this tier is Darnell Mooney, Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman. On this team, I'm going to take Darnell Mooney, right? Because I took DeAndre Swift in the second round. If I took Nick Chubb in the second round and we get to a certain point, I'm going to think about Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson or whatever. It's just figuring out those little nuances.
That's probably where the EV is a bunch of fucking mini correlations. And
I fucking hope
people
so.
Are chasing
$1 fucking hope so. but I do think like it probably is, because if you think about like, okay, let's say that Bills Bengals game blows up and you need you just have to have Chase in week 17. Totally plausible. Like if you don't have Chase, you're not winning it, period. Yeah. But then Gabe Davis also scores a touchdown. He has a good game. Most teams bubbling up also have Gabe Davis attached, but you could potentially have DeAndre Swift, who let's say he's a really popular hero running back. Connor just got a really good article on Rotoviz about how that particular structure suffers from potentially chalky running backs making it, because of like you have a hero running back build that there's going to be a lot of similar heroes that happen to have the right weeks in the playoffs that get you to week 17. So you've got a kind of chalky running back potentially in DeAndre Swift. You got this chalky game stack that goes off, but then you've got Mooney. And if Mooney beats Gabe Davis, that could be – so it's like those little minis, I think, not only –
Oh, we just lost Pat's audio.
I was wondering if that was
this is middle of a great point.
Pat, you still lost your audio.
This is your best.
One thing I'll say about
best
Pat's
comments, Pat, of the whole show.
to extend Pat's thought,
you just hit a home run and didn't step on third.
To where this can be exploitable is like people who, and I'm guilty of this myself. Like, when I'm trying to get a cheap Tennessee bring back on Dallas, I find myself going for Hassan Haskins, the mystery box rookie. Today, I ended up taking Jontrell Hilliard. I never take him, but it was just this idea of like, if 90% of our stacking cohort is going to be taking the same player in these pockets because of correlation, it's like, how can we get unique there? Because what is the honest difference in probability of Hilliard hitting versus Haskins, right? It's probably like a 50-50, honestly, of who could be the backup if someone got hurt. And yet we're drafting it as if it's 90% Haskins and 10% Hilliard. Yeah.
Can we talk about how you guys correlated your backlights to the
Yeah,
I didn't realize this. I didn't realize this. It matches my shirt. You see the Razor Ramon shirt? I literally correlated mine to my t-shirt. So not to Pete. That was not intentional.
I mean, we're getting a little bit over the correlation, jumping the shark.
That was intentional.
No, Hayden's our other fellow glow bro. Ben, one thing I was just thinking about, going back to the zero RB analogy with all of this, I do think there is a firm tie-in with it that goes back to like humility-based drafting, which one thing I love about correlating with week 17 is it leads me to natural diversification instead of being every time on the clock being like, I'm taking Visca, I'm taking Sky Moore, my favorite guy. It's like, no, I don't think I'm better than the market at picking players at ADP. So I'll let the little correlation boost break those ties for me. Whereas if you're saying, no, I'm better than the market, I know better, I'm going to identify the league winner at every single pick, that's a non-humility based approach. And so I think understanding my only edge here is knowing that correlation matters. Not only do you get natural diversification, but it's a humility based way to draft, knowing we don't know, but how can we benefit?
I would add to that. That's an extreme way of approaching it, because you're saying your only edge is correlation. I think you can still have player targets and opinions and still do everything that you guys are talking about.
For sure.
Yeah. Those come first in the hierarchy, to be clear. If you are drafting a player, you get to the 12th round and there's a guy you have one or two tiers above that's available, right? It's just like in DFS, you talked about earlier, Pete, I think you said, mentioned the like projection boost. That's what correlation is. So if you were making a DFS team and you got to two similarly projected players and one correlated with your lineup and one did not, there would be a projection boost built into your projections so that the player that correlated would project higher on that lineup, right? Because there's a correlation boost. You should do the same thing in best ball, but that doesn't mean that the correlation outweighs the projection on the other guy either, right? If there's a guy who you have in tier 2 at wide receiver and we're on to tier 4, that guy could correlate, but he could still be a worse pick,
so
right?
When you're
and so that's kind of the player thing.
When you're stacking Rams Chargers, you still don't take Van Jefferson, because no matter how much you boost him,
his projection
projects for negative points.
His projection is still negative, so you can't repeat it.
That's why that is how Ben ended up with 90% Tutu Atwell this year.
Tutu.
I kind of like Tutu. I do, because this brings up kind of a point of the diversification thing, and like one thing I've been thinking through, because I'm kind of like team, I don't care, I'm totally fine drafting my guys. I try to get them an AP value, try to do all the mini correlations and all that, but like being overweight doesn't bother me so much. But if you're gonna go overweight, right, you risk having a bad year, because it's like if I'm right, I'll have a great year. If I'm wrong, could have a bad year. One thing that makes me nervous about not diversifying as much as some others is that like this slate is a year away from another slate, and it does feel like we've kind of leveled up the conversation in a pretty meaningful way from just last year. So like between week 15 and week 16 DFS slates, there's not like a massive upgrade in the understanding of how to play GPPs from the field, but there might be another sizable gain in the strategy, the tactics that everyone's using in drafting these tournament best ball teams from 2022 to 2023. Like I could see potentially like popular sites having like tournament best ball rankings compared to tournament best ball tools. I mean, you guys are rolling out a bunch of tools at Spike Week, like all that stuff, making people like way sharper at drafting these teams. They already are. I feel like they're going to be even more next year. So like, I don't know. Do you like think through that? Like part of me doesn't want to like make as many player specific stands this year, because if I do happen to be wrong, now I'm entering a room next year that's filled with like way more sharps.
I got two replies. One is people are stubborn and stupid. That's like the number one rule to life. And that's the number one rule. I've been working in DFS and as a tout or whatever, I'm not the world's best DFS player. I've been able to have some success. I mostly just listen to other smart people, right? Pete talks to Brick. I listen to Brian. I listen to Blender. I listen to Ship My Money, Adam Scher. I listen to the people in my little bubble that are smarter than me and better than me at this. And then like I have my own takes on different things. It doesn't matter what I say. Brian Hooper is one of the best DFS players on the planet. He literally does a show where he talks a lot about his process. People don't give a shit. People are going to do what they're going to do.
Let's get those numbers up.
I don't remember what it's called, though. But people do not care. You could lay out exact and maybe people like Liam's getting into the content space. Maybe he is just better at this than all of us. He's laying out how
it's
to do
doubtful. He doesn't even know how to create a YouTube channel.
It's fucking painful. And he's in the thread game now.
He had
I can't.
COVID, Pete.
He's getting
He had
muted.
COVID.
He's getting muted. I think it's getting bad. But like you could lay out exactly. I literally built tools on RotoGrinders. Like Slate IQ was the main one. That was my baby. It was like the first one that like looked at all historical slates exactly to this, ran simulations of slates that told you to your point on like the defense captain thing. We were like, you can't play this defense. You can't play this. I'm thinking of Showdown, but like you can't play this captain in Showdown. You can't do it. It's a massively minus EV thing to do. And people would be like, nope, I know better. I don't care. And that would still be the highest owned captain. Right now, we've evolved a little bit in the DFS space, but I think we're so far away from that in best ball. And then the only other thing I was going to say is to Pete's point earlier, this kind of thing is exactly how you don't have huge stands on players. I actually am more pro stands on individual players probably than like some of the people that we talk to frequently. But this is how it doesn't happen because right. I have my, I am like fading Derrick Henry or whatever. So I get a little overexposed to Justin Jefferson, but like there's 12 Packers for me to take. Like I'm not getting overexposed to any of those guys because I'm just kind of letting the draft come to me. I think this is actually an awesome way to diversify your portfolio without you're not even trying to diversify it. It just happens naturally.
Yeah. And there is too, I also think it just, how we all like to approach fantasy is like, these are puzzles, right? And we're trying to solve new puzzles and it's like trying to figure out a new game type. And there is just a group of people, a large group of people that just want to select guys they like, their favorite players on the teams they like, build however they want and have a chance to win some money. And so there's probably just this natural resistance in the same way we're like, oh man, I don't want to go up against Brick and DFS and these guys running Sims. Yeah, we're like the middle spot between just gut and Sims where it's like, we know how to play the game. We just don't have big enough brains or the tools to actually execute what we know we need to do, but we understand we need to do it. And so I understand other people are just like, fuck this. Just let me draft a team.
The chat is crushing right now. They said so many people just think they can hit the perfect draft. IKB, I know better. Zero RB doesn't work. I tried it one time and it didn't work. Well, I mean, just play the best plays, guys. Didn't you realize that? Like, just draft all the good players that do good. If you go back and look, all of the good players have the highest win rates. That's how you win at basketball. Yeah. Draft all of the good players, correlate the 20+% win rates, then you're going to win.
I take an attack on this question. Say you're Pete, you do 30 drafts and draw 28 101s, and the other 2 are 102. Well, this isn't hypothetical. Yeah, it's been tough out there, guys, having to naturally force myself.
And cup and diversifying at the 101.
Dubner was killing me, posting my whole brand, like all of my live stream drafts. I get 101 or 102. I keep doing hyper fragile builds. I have like 4% zero RB builds on stream because everyone in the chat jumps in with me and takes all the receivers. And so the brand is just an absolute shambles right now.
Have you taken Eddie Lacy 2.0 at 101 yet? Najee Harris?
Is that Najee or Fournette? They're both fat as hell.
See, I don't think it's going to be
drafts only running backs and fades the shit out of Sky Moore.
It's not going to be. It wouldn't be smart to take Najee at 101 because it won't be a unique combo when he's going at
the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, later in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the fucking Steelers are like, we're reducing his workload. That came out today.
All right. Should we put some of these ideas on their feet and hop in a puppy draft? I can see the chat's getting restless. All right. Good luck if you're trying to get in this draft. Looks like
oh geez.
Of course, Spags in here. Goodness. We got Nick, FF Links. We got the 110.
We're one of the last teams in this draft, huh?
110 is fun. There's not ship chasers in here, really.
It's not a friends and family
I think
draft.
we might have been the last one to register.
That's beautiful. We might actually get to take some receivers.
So was Spags just spamming the puppy?
He's in every one of the next like 12 puppies.
Yeah.
Spags is he's like made it his life mission to max this puppy. And I just can't wait until they drop another one in about a week and he just realizes that this isn't sustainable.
He's going to burn out. He's going to burn out hard.
We will talk shit about whoever if you're willing to send us $20 not to talk shit about them. I'm happy to go down this road.
Who else do you like?
Yeah.
That's Tony. That's Tony who won the DK Millie last year.
Do we got any Fournette fans in here to send us $20 to stop that? 'Cause he's the other tab out right now.
He actually looks fat though. Najee looks like Najee. Lenny looks
Lenny
robust.
is fat. Like he said like sometimes it's hard to keep my like off-season weight where I want it. Like
that's what I want to draft in the second round. The dude
was
like
saying,
I mean, I get that. It's I put on winter weight too, but you know,
you're not a fucking NFL football player.
Yep.
Was Hope saying that Spags is in the other one too? He's multi.
Yeah, Hope said he's like Spags is
in all
multi-tabling.
That's beautiful.
All right, the 110 here. What are we thinking? This is definitely one of the weirder spots, I think, even outside of ship chasing drafts this year. Like that 1-9, 110 feels pretty weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I just drafted from in that puppy I accidentally registered for.
The big dog, 5th.
I took I think I took Dalvin Cook, and then I got Debo on the wrap.
I haven't taken Dalvin yet. So
Leone
later we'll
Dalvin,
have to have
which made me.
What a fucking surprise!
Yeah, we did that literally last week with Leone. So no Dalvin.
So this is the spot.
I'm adamant about either Devontae or Kelsey here. Either
I like
or.
Devontae.
I've been doing Devontae just because I like those other elite tight end prices so much that I've been passing on it more.
That's exactly where I'm at, Pete.
To lean into the bit, though, what I will say is Kelsey getting the elite tight end. Kelsey, you get the elite tight end. Like everybody has the same concerns about his age and stuff, but like Tyreek is gone. This dude could set the roof on fire at tight end. So I'm actually trying to get overweight on him.
Real quick, converse. I mean, this Debo Adams start is so chalk, but I still love it so much.
I'm into it. Yeah,
I'm fine with it. Yes.
I mean, this is one of those classic examples of you're literally taking the highest available wide receiver based on ADP. It just so happens they're playing week 17, baby.
There's no other pick that is even in a tier with Debo, in my opinion. None of the other receivers,
agreed,
I think are. I would not take any of these running backs in that tier. I would not put Mark Andrews.
I take Swift some.
I'm not saying he's not draftable. I'm saying I don't know. I think Debo should be above that. He'd be probably the next player I would take too, Pat. Is my point.
Have you seen the Trey Lance hype from camp?
It's nonstop, man.
Yeah. They said what he's taking strides as a player and
I hope you've been smashing him in drafts because he is. But the steam is.
He's going to settle by Hurts if Jimmy G gets traded for sure.
100%.
I think he'll go.
So can we try out that the mini correlation is the EV move? And I mean, I don't know that you want to necessarily not correlate this game anymore, but don't you think everyone who has this start has made sure to get more correlations this game? So now we go to other games and we just have these two for this game.
This is you keep building your team.
If we have a chance to take Lance, we should take him.
Well, of course, that's different, but he's like an 8th or 9th round pick. But you keep building your team, right? So whoever comes around here,
I'm suggesting is intentionally swerving away from Lance and building a different play now, and only having the Adams Debo mini.
I'm totally
open to that. I guess we don't have to force Lance, but I mean, if Lance could,
if Lance
is intentionally not correlating the new correlation play.
See, this is super quick. This is a real thing that in our bubble. So like we have a Spike Week Discord, right? Pete has a Discord. These are all the biggest grinders that exist in this entire space, right? The 2%ers or whatever. Like that. This is not a thing that the normal person thinks about. How many people in this draft are thinking about like, ooh, I got 2 guys that correlate in week 17. They don't even know the fucking week 17 schedule. We have a ticker for it on this stream. like people don't even think
I
that
don't know
deep.
Yeah,
Exactly. Don't even think that deeply. So we're just in this bubble where we're like, I don't want to overthink it. I'm to the point. I'm not reaching on Lance or whatever, or Carr or whatever, but you don't need to like totally we're not to the DFS meta yet where it's like, they know he's chalk and I know he's chalk. So is he not going to be chalk? Like that doesn't exist yet in best ball, in my opinion.
I think you're right. And 99.9% of teams will not make week 17. Yeah. So I do think like, if you don't feel like we're in that environment, you break ties towards not being in that environment, just because like this team isn't going to be in that final anyway. Like the vast majority of the time, this team's like not even in it. So it's more like you're going to maybe bubble up one, and then you want that team structured really, really well.
Let's see this board. Yeah, this is a fairly normal draft. This isn't a wacko piss and yellow draft.
So what are we looking at?
I have a take. I don't know if Ben's going to agree with it, but we'll see what well, that was it. Hollywood is my guy right there, actually, over DJ Moore, but I'm cool with the rest of these guys.
I like Waddle or Moore a lot. Do you guys, Gretch?
I like Waddle or Moore a lot.
I'd be fine taking Waddle over Moore. I mean, I think Waddle's getting overly disrespected.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Okay. Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, I got Waddle in a draft the other day. I mean, right around here, I think I got him at 4-1 because I had the 3-4 turn, which, man, it seems like a little too much of a discount on him.
In the draft I just did, I got Waller in the same spot, and I actually got Marquise Brown on the wrap. And I do like that Marquise Brown call, because that then sets you up to go get Kyler. So that team ended up being a Kyler Lance team, because I got Debo. It's actually kind of similar to this team. So I like Marquise. I mean, I'm breaking some ties to Marquise, because then I'm like, I want to get Kyler.
We're on the clock.
I mean, what? It's Deontay or Judy here, right?
Either one. Either one's fine.
I mean, we could go Kittle as well. I know it's a bit of a reach, but Waller's up.
I prefer to push it. Let Debo. Let Debo. Yeah. So that's something Deontay's totally fine. I was just gonna say,
Deontay's a really good 4th round pick.
I do like. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy that he's a 4th round pick? I don't have a ton. I was just looking at 9% Deontay, but it's just great. He's falling. So like he's the perfect guy where people get really caught up in like early draft season. And like, I wasn't really drafting him. He was like kind of like closer to like the early 3rd-ish type, you know, like early to mid 3rd. Now, I mean, shit. I mean, the 403, and like if we wouldn't have taken him, we don't even know he would have guaranteed to go in the next couple. Like he's going to be a mid 4th round pick soon. So he's just the perfect guy, I think, to kind of start to scoop up. But I was just going to say, Kyler falls. Can anyone understand why Kyler's falling? Is it just the Hopkins thing? But like, I'm trying to get Hollywood, dude. Hollywood here with Kyler in the 5th, 6th is like gold to me.
I think it's because Kyler didn't have a very strong post-injury part of his season last year. You know,
he was amazing.
He didn't look right. He was amazing.
He was the MVP.
To start the season.
He was like the MVP. Like literally the front runner MVP. And then
we finally saw what his ceiling could be. Like that makes me want to bet on him more the next year. Like, okay, he was hurt when he was playing bad. All right, I'll write that off a little bit. You know.
Yeah, and they add Marquise Brown, who is a good downfield receiver, which is what they need.
It's the perfect fit
together in college. Yeah,
it's the perfect fit.
The chat's a little bit. We got a sad comment. DJ Clear #1. Look, we could have taken DJ Moore there. It would have been an easy pick. I said I was fine with Waddle over DJ Moore. I want that on the record. I was fine with it. I
want to be clear. I take DJ Moore over Jalen Waddle there, but I think they're like the same.
Do that.
They're like so similar to me.
Yeah. I kind of mix it. I'll take Waddle. I don't mind taking Waddle over Moore.
I also think I'm sure you guys have better reasons for taking more over Waddle, but just in general, this arbitrary who's the wide receiver one, because I've gotten that when I take T Higgins in the second. Why are you taking the Bengals number 2 wide receiver? We can get back to the piece of the pie and how big the pie conversation is, but we have to be done with what those meaningless designations mean.
Also, like,
so dumb. It's so
by
dumb.
by what margin? Like, T Higgins was like, he had a higher target rate than Jamar Chase last year. Chase ran more routes, but like
Chase scored more touchdowns.
Right. It was very thin margins about who, like, the number 1 versus the number 2. They're 1A, 1B.
That's a great point. There's a few different good ones, but another big one is Jalen Waddle is the second-year type of receiver you want to target, and there's contingent value in that as well, where if Tyreek Hill misses time, Jalen Waddle immediately looks like an absolute star. I mean, he was amazing last year when he was their main guy. There are, again, we're not trying to predict too much. There are a lot of scenarios where in week 17, any scenario where Tyreek's not on the field, obviously, but Jalen Waddle is a number 1 and is looking like an absolute star. But Pat, you've said earlier in the offseason, he could even out-target him this year, right? Like, it wouldn't be that surprising.
No.
What if Tyreek opens up the offense and Jalen Waddle is still just Jalen Waddle of last year, but now instead of Mac Hollins running routes on the outside, it's Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Let's see here.
There's also the other thing where, like, if you look at wide receiver scoring, like, think about the FFPC playoff tournament that we were doing. Like, that was so tilting because we made a big stand on T Higgins, and then T Higgins had this incredible Super Bowl, but like, he had such a bad stretch before that our T Higgins teams were already dead.
Yeah,
and they were and like our shares were all kind of in the wrong, teams and all that. But like, you needed T Higgins. Like, T Higgins ultimately he had such a big week. Like, that could easily be week 17. It could be week 16. Like, what if T Higgins has 50 points in week 16?
All right, guys. When the positional needs and the correlation line up, can you pass this test here?
I don't know the schedule.
Dobbins.
I hope it's Dobbins.
Baltimore versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
week 17.
Yes.
I love Breece Hall too. If anyone wants to take Breece Hall, smash him for the millionth time.
Dobbins is a better pick than Breece Hall.
They're both good picks. They're equally very good picks. It's the same tier, like Eric was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And the correlation is
it's the same tier.
We had to give the people a correlated team.
That is nice, isn't it? See, this is why the week 17 correlation thing matters. It's like, it just falls to you. If we didn't take J.K. Dobbins at the 3-4 turn, we took him at ADP.
All right. This is a little bit more of a choose your own adventure here.
Tough,
what are you guys feeling?
It's Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, I think.
Going ahead of Burrow now?
Elijah Moore works for me.
Elijah Moore.
You could also do Amon-Ra and try to get Fields later.
Yeah, that's true. I don't mind Amon-Ra. It's definitely Elijah Moore or Amon-Ra for me.
Let's go Elijah.
Yeah, let's go Elijah.
I'm kind of excited about Elijah Moore. I kind of think we just did the Jalen Waddle Tyreek Hill thing, and like, I'm not calling Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but like, if Elijah Moore is as good as he showed last year, I understand the Zach Wilson concerns. He was awesome. Elijah Moore was awesome last year. If he just is that good, and the offense now has Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and actual tight ends that can do something in the passing game, like, it's just now, can Zach Wilson be competent? And that's like, he doesn't have to be awesome. He just needs to be competent.
The thing I worry about with Elijah Moore, and like, one of the reasons I like wide receivers so much is that I don't need to worry about the coaches. Like, the coaches can't really screw this up for me as long as I'm drafting really good wide receivers, but they can screw up this one because Corey Davis is like, are they going to play Corey Davis over him in some 2 wide receiver sets? Are they going to mix in Braxton Berrios a little bit? Like, it's like one of those situations where
the CD Lamb, right?
The CD Lamb, exactly.
That's happened to CD.
It's exactly the CD Lamb where it's like, dude, just put him on the field. Why isn't he? He's running 73% of the routes. Like,
he's your best. Kidding? He's your best player, and he's not even running 80% of routes. Yeah,
and you'll see that. Like, that's what worries me. And I think the Garrett Wilson pick indicates, maybe they do see him as more of a slot, which was one of the concerns coming in. Last year, he didn't look like that. He looked like he was a real, can do everything type of wide receiver. But It would not be. It would be like the millionth example of coaches being shown something that counters what they may have thought originally, and then going with what they thought originally instead.
But
So
that scenario is one where Garrett Wilson is an absolute smash at his ADP. I think there is an element here where like Elijah's being bought into a lot heavier by the market for a reason. He's showed he was good last year. Garrett Wilson could also just be bad, right?
Yeah, I'm making an assumption that Garrett Wilson is playing in 2 wide receiver sets, which could be completely wrong.
Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that. That's true.
I mean, with the draft capital, it's the right assumption, but
it could be wrong. Yeah, you never know.
I mean, at the end of the day, the draft capital is very clearly a predictor, but also like this is the Shanahan tree. Who Brandon Ayuk is not playing to start the year, and Trey Sermon they traded up. Dante Pettis was the second coming. I was drafting Dante Pettis in the 8th round on draft, like it was I was on drugs as many times I was taking Dante Pettis, and the dude just got gone. Oh my god, my dog is growling like a
That's
motherfucker.
A dog?
I thought it was a humidifier.
What was that?
That sounds like a Star Wars effect.
Luke, I am your father.
He woke. All right, so here's what happened. He was sleeping. He woke up, and there's all these fucking lights and darkness, and he just
dude.
his brother is over like in front of one of these lights over here. So it looks freaky as shit. Like there's like light. He looks almost like a predator or something, where there's lights coming from him. I think it really. It freaked him out.
He's just pissed Elijah Moore doesn't correlate with anyone on our roster.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, we're gonna have to end up taking like Kenneth Walker.
Now we have to take a Seahawk. Yeah, we have to take a fucking.
We'll
Seahawk.
take Walker a penny. It's not the only
Waddle.
This is Noah Fant. It's Noah Fant. This is a Noah Fant team.
Ooh, I like it.
Waddle plays the Patriots.
Yes, they
and
do.
DJ
man.
Moore plays the Bucks. So we probably should have taken DJ Moore in hindsight, just purely off of that.
Ben, you guys are taking this correlation thing way too far. All right,
I'm like weeks behind you guys. I'm thinking through these things, like literal weeks when everything's moving like every hour.
I was gonna just say real quick, I do think Hurts wouldn't have been a bad pick by any means, but like one thing, looking at all the wide receivers we were taking, we have all late quarterback stack options. Whereas if we go Hurts, Devonta Smith went right in front of us. We're basically forced into like triple tapping Hurts, Goddard, and Miles Sanders just to get any real exposure to the Eagles there. So to me, it's kind of an easy pass.
Yep.
The Saints they're also not fun because you're kind of then forced into Olave
or Jarvis Landry. Yeah, which is
all right.
Who do you like
here?
here?
Gross spot.
Is it?
We could do Renfro. Get that correlation. Could do Kenneth Walker. I would say Kenneth Walker. Get some upside.
See,
I kind of like that.
Someone make a stand.
I think I would take
do Walker.
CH. I think I would take CH.
So I just can't do this to I think Kenneth Walker might still be hanging around.
Okay.
Pat got bullied into CH last time. I couldn't do it to him again.
I know. I listened.
I would have too.
I don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to be the Leone to this.
An uncorrelated CH the week after a correlated CH.
Yeah, but Denver, we've had this fucking discussion that Denver is available later. We can get our KJ Hamlers.
Why didn't we just take
Albert O, whatever.
I don't know. You want to do Walker now?
Let's do Walker now.
Walker's fine, yeah. I really don't like Walker.
Sky Moore is the top guy in the queue, and we're passing him. What is happening? We are down bad right now.
No, see, I mean,
roll the clip for old times.
We don't have any Chiefs in this. I'm all right. I'll pass on Sky Moore from time to time.
Are you seriously though? Are you guys taking much of Walker? I really am not taking Walker unless it's like this kind of scenario. I've only taken him a couple times.
I've got like a couple things that'll sway me and kind of get me to change my opinion a little bit. One of them is when Sean Siegel starts comparing guys to Jamal Charles. That generally gets me to take them a little bit more. So yeah, I've started taking Walker a little bit. I'm not hammering him.
I love Sean, but I think he's on drugs.
Well, so
Dude,
Jamal Charles is the guy that won him the title.
I know.
that year, and is like honestly his favorite running back of all time. So that's a big comparison.
if you're,
what do you guys think about the Seahawks? Do you think are you like there's a lot of sentiment right around them of how bad they're going to be? Are you just like ignoring that and maybe they get Baker or something like that to make it better? Or how are you kind of approaching them? Because like I like the Jets, I like Elijah, I like Garrett Wilson, I like all these guys, Brees, whatever. But like I really still, even with our correlation talk for a half hour, I struggle to click some of these Seahawks.
Well, it's funny you say that because one thing that's unfolding here in real time is Spags setting up a massive backdoor bid equity Drew Lock stack because he loves the Seattle. He gets Metcalf Lockett, and I know he's just sitting at home knowing I can't wait to see the uproar when I draft Drew Lock in the 18th.
Drew Lock's not gonna start. It's
gonna
be
no,
Gino is the starter. Oh yeah, or someone else.
Oh my god, is he taking a bunch of Seattle double stacks with Drew Lock?
Yes, his percentages are down because he's done a million drafts, but he was coming in hot early.
That's gonna suck. I'm sorry, Spags.
That's gonna suck bad.
Spags, you know exactly what you're doing. Smoked you right out into the chat. How are you even chatting when you're multi-tabling 9 drafts right now?
How are you like literally how do you have the time? Oh wait, so I got a trivia while we're waiting for our pick. Should we have taken Trey Lance in the 8th? Maybe that was a mistake.
Probably.
All right. Do you guys know who Dante Pettis plays for now?
He was
on the Giants last year.
No, he was on the Giants last year. That's right.
The Bears.
That's right. He plays for the
Bears. Yeah.
I was like, I just saw this on a depth chart the other day. I had to think about it for a minute. It's one of those depth charts that has a bunch of random fucking players on it.
All the shitty washout wide receivers are on the Bears and Velus Jones. And Velus Jones is older than all of them.
I literally think he might be older than Pettis.
Dude, the Bears wide receiver room is just a list of like 3rd round rookie picks that got cut after 1 year, 2 years.
Equanimous St. Brown. Like there's so many dudes.
All the guys we talked ourselves into, all the times that these guys Pat talked me into in the 3rd round of all my dynasty rookie drafts. Now they're all on the fucking Bears.
David Moore, Byron Pringle. I mean, good lord.
Visca next year.
Oh God. Oh man, we're killing the brand right now.
Yeah, so we definitely have an interesting build here with the onesie positions for sure. I would love to squeak out at least a 2 build from one of them.
I kind of regret not taking Lance. Sorry, you guys on that.
Quarterback's fine. I think we'll be fine at quarterback.
Who needs Hunter Renfrow when you got Devonta Adams, aka 40% target share?
We do have a million options at quarterback still.
Quarterback's fine. Tight end might be a little sketchy. Goddard? This Goddard fall, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what this guy does. Yeah, Goddard would have been an absolute smash, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm still open. I'm still open to Knox here. What do you guys think? Oh, there you go. Mute point.
I think we just take Carr.
Yeah, I do too. We got the double already.
This guy has 2 behind us. Oh, this guy's a wild card, and he has Waller. We probably shouldn't mess around.
He has one wide receiver. Wait, he has 1 wide receiver and Kelsey and Waller.
A 5-1-2 build.
Oh my god,
this guy.
Oh my god, it's gonna be a good night of
sauce.
It's gonna be a good fucking night of saucing. The guy who got Sky Moore started 3 running backs in a QB and then went Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins, so probably not gonna have a receiver. And then got Sky Moore. It's like, all right. I mean, he fell that far after ADP. That guy took him. Like,
this is
gonna take. He's gonna take good 5 years ago, but he took Sky Moore.
He's gonna take Deshaun Watson and really just get all the guys that never played a game this year.
Stevenson goes ahead of Damian Harris. We have the Waddle correlation here. Harris at 111, guys.
Let's just take Harris.
I'm fine with Damian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would like to announce every single player on our team currently has a week 17 correlation right now.
So this is how it's done. Did you hear that, Josh Norris?
I really wish we could just like fast forward it to the like week 14. This team like finishing 8th place in the league. Like just Every single player.
You think it's that good?
Oh, wait till week 17 when it's dead.
When it's already dead.
8th place.
You know what we
you
should
think
do,
it's that
Eric?
good?
Eric, do you know what we should do? Is
Eighth place in our league.
Eric, what are the spike week tools should be for your eliminated teams? You can see how many points you would have put up in week 17.
Okay.
No.
So
Don't make that.
All right, this is no shit. So we're like super close to finishing this like exposures tool and stuff. We're building out like a sweat, like a tool to like sweat your teams. So like that would literally be possible. Is like we're gonna we have projections.
Wow, you're sick, dude.
So we have projections.
Why would you ever want to?
We have projections and we have results, right? So like we buy that data. So like for every single team that you have, I have a projection for every single one of those players, and then I obviously have the past results. So like you could see line by line each team and scroll down to your 12th place teams. Like, right, I drafted this 0 RB team. It's supposed to get better as the year goes on. I drafted all these rookies on that team, and like it's just destroying souls in like week 12, but it's so far behind.
Yeah.
It's so far behind that
You know what,
it doesn't matter.
It's our version of Skalansky bucks. Like one of us week 17 correlation bros needs to be able to say, but if we would have gotten there, we would have won 2 billion. Like we need that so bad.
Do you like go like through your GPP lineups after the day and go back and look at like old like 3v3s that you had and be like, oh, if I just played this
That's literally
one.
what everyone does. They say if
Everyone
I would have
does
had
that.
this other 2v2, I would have won it all.
I usually just close my
So I don't
laptop
actually go look
after the
and see,
second
like,
chalk touchdown.
I had this entered and then I switched it. That's gut wrenching.
I think Famous J brings up some good points here.
Let's see. You still need to get there.
This is the chalk, argument against it. You still need to get there, thinking this correlation drafting is going overboard. The thing that I've never heard anyone articulate is what are you going to do strategically to get there differently than what I'm doing? If I'm not hemorrhaging ADP value, then you're just saying you're going to pick players better than me. Like, I guess just tell me what the strategy is to get there that I'm not doing, because I also would like to know that strategy.
I think of it like when people talk about advance rate. Last year, when we would talk about, like, I would say I'm playing to try to win first place, and other people would say, oh, I'm just trying to get as many bullets into the final. And like, that sounds fine, but no one could ever say, okay, what specifically are you doing different than me?
Right.
To get more bullets there. And like, no, like it would usually be just like 3 quarterbacks. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine, I guess. 3 quarterbacks or 3 tight ends is like your difference. Whatever, because like I'm taking ADP value. Like we didn't reach on anybody. We are not drafting a bad structure. We're not doing anything on this team worse than any team that is quote unquote trying to advance. This team is perfectly set up to advance. We just happen to also be on top of that, building in little correlations that help us in week 17. So it's getting the best of both worlds.
And I still do think, I do agree, like the more like robust onesie stuff, 3 QBs, 3 tight ends will help your advance rate out of weeks 1 through 14, but it still immediately kills you for the way the 15, 16, 17. You still have to win these mini uncorrelated tournaments where you're allocating resources at a onesie position where what you're getting above replacement isn't really worth it.
But I think you can maybe go more elite at those onesie positions, and that would help you get through week 15 and 16. Right. But then once you get to week 17, you would potentially, have a harder time of having that really high score that you would need to take down week 17. So I do think maybe that's a way that if you really want to get more bullets in, but that comes directly at the cost of the more important week.
What do you guys think of Gesicki here?
Yeah.
Get our first tight end.
Yeah, I like it.
It's in the chat already.
I'm just trying to play it a little close to the vest, Scratch.
Pete, I went and looked at the schedule while you guys were talking and figured out where we might want to go next. So I just want credit.
You're on it.
He needs the ticker. He needs the ticker in order to understand who Miami plays.
I'm going.
So there's an obvious pick here, then, right?
Yeah.
With
it's Tua. I mean, if he wants to,
if he's going to triple tap,
QB3, go for it.
This is nice.
I wrote that in the chat, and I'm so glad that it was actually like a viable thing, and I'm not just a complete idiot. I wrote Gesicki plus Tua.
Well, those are not mutually exclusive.
Eric, how funny is it that we were talking about, like, you don't have to take this too far. You can backdoor your correlations. We literally have the most textbook correlated team, the quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked because the one viewer wanted us to give an example, and this is like kind of being handed to us. Like, this is not a good example of how to do it. Because
it was this literally happened to me 2 weeks ago or something. So I do a Thursday show that's like just strategy based. I just dive into some specific strategy thing. And I think on that particular Thursday, I talked about week 17. And then on Fridays, we do drafts, similar to like Pete's, Pete's like Monday morning streams. And I literally said before, I'm like, I'm going to draft a 0 RB team. I was like, this is a 0 RB draft. If you want to join and you want to make me look like an idiot, go ahead. I drafted maybe the best 0 RB team I've drafted in like 2 years on this stream. And it had to exactly like this. Every pick was like, oh, I took Javonte. Here's MVS around after ADP, right? This quarterback, Trey Lance, falls to me when I have Deebo Samuel, like a round after. Everything just fell in together perfectly. So it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful when this happens. And it's also awesome because you get to dunk on the people in the comments that are like, oh, week 17 is stupid. And you're like, I'm getting week 17 and my team's still better than you.
There's so many good stories we can tell with this team. Damian Harris, J.K. Dobbins, and Kenneth Walker are all going to score first half touchdowns and force their correlated receivers to catch a bunch of passes. I'm so pumped for this roster.
This is kind of the perfect spot because I was going to even say it was going to be a weird combo if Harris and Stevenson were both on the board, because I'm guessing we're all Stevenson heads here. I'm kind of glad that they just made that decision for us there.
Yeah, we
what do you guys think about
3
that?
first half touchdowns from Harris for him to get there?
Yeah, didn't that happen last year? Didn't that happen
probably
last year?
has
Didn't he have 3?
And then two
him and Ramondre
to Gesicki and Waddle. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they both scored 1 million points in week 17 last year, I think.
I've taken some Damian just because like he might be the goal line back, and half PPR that could be what you need. So I've taken a little bit, but man, yeah, I obviously like Ramondre better. No one's shocked to learn.
But Damian falling so much. How are you handling? Are you kind of like starting to balance it out a little bit after that?
I'm not really, I would say, balancing it out because Ramondre is still like, every time I see Damian, I'm like, I can wait like another full round to go get Ramondre. Like, it's not like one of those things where it's like, if I don't take Damian, I definitely won't get Ramondre either. In that case, I might be like, I'll take Damian here. But so it's still like, I'm still going to end up being underweight, or I still am right now underweight Damian Harris.
I know this is an underdog channel, but I've actually been drafting a lot on DraftKings lately. And if you want to draft Ramondre, go to draft. Damian still goes in like the 7th, 8th round. Ramondre goes in like the 11th, 12th round.
Better fit for the scoring as well.
Yeah, way better. Yep.
I mean, this is going to line up pretty well again, too, if we want to take Henry here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've never seen this much rosterbation on chip chasing. Yeah, I don't know.
Really? You haven't been watching it?
Yeah, was your first stream? Welcome.
I feel like I get triggered when I just like listen to the podcast about the rosterbation.
Anything else I'm missing here over Henry?
Nope. He's a great pick.
Yeah, he's a great pick.
And just perfectly fits. Now we're kind of back on track structurally, too.
Is there a single pick we've taken more than, I think it looks like 1 and change ahead of ADP? Oh, Deebo was 2 and change ahead of ADP. Oh, Elijah Moore was 4 spots ahead of ADP. I mean, like, everything is like right at ADP.
He was also not correlated at that time. We just picked a player at that point.
Yeah.
With Deebo as well.
Yeah.
Who do you guys like here? Now we're kind of open.
Are we on the clock?
Algier and Pickens both look interesting to me.
I was gonna say Tyrion Davis Price is actually my favorite. I think of all these guys.
I like Gainwell here, so we're all on different.
Yeah, I like Gainwell.
I'll go Tyrion Davis Price for the correlation.
Sure, that's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt none of those guys are making it back to us.
Well, right after I said that, now we're having our biggest correlation reach 5 spots ahead of ADP.
Wow, ruined it. This has gone too far.
I don't know what we're thinking.
One thing on the correlation, I've tried doing like a little bit is just like doing more like one-sided stuff. What do you guys think about that? Like where you just kind of do like more like onslaughty type stuffs, right? As opposed to like I got one here, I'll get one from the other. I'll get one here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just building like more like one side of it, and then like I think I did that with San Francisco. Where I don't have a Raider, but I make sure to get like Tyrion Davis-Price, Trey Lance, Danny Gray, and Debo.
I like it.
Connor brings up the sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say Connor brings up the RB1 and tight one's not a historically strong stack, but he obviously doesn't know anything about the New England Patriots. So that's a team in the NFL, and the running backs and the tight ends are all that matters on that team.
I do think there's a conversation though, like it again, week 17, all that matters, yada yada. But we are still making macro correlation bets on these offenses to get us there. So yes, while that might have a slightly negative correlation in a single week, if the Patriots take a big step up, we're going to want like Henry and Harris are probably going to be responsible for a lot of their touchdowns that they score.
Yeah. Plus like what did we get Harris? Because we got Henry in the 13th, we got Harris a couple rounds before that. Like, I don't feel like we need to be right about every single one of these. Like if we have the Dolphins going up, which we made a big stack on the Dolphins. So we need the Dolphins to have a good week 17. And then we have a couple options of bring backs like that. And those are the touchdown guys. Like we happen to have the right guy who scores the touchdowns that week on the Patriots. I don't give a shit. Right. If like Damon Harris doesn't do anything that week, we might be totally fine.
Even as crazy as it sounds, even Debo doesn't do anything that week, but Tyrion Davis-Price goes for three touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds crazy, but last year, like Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp and Mark Andrews were the 3 biggest smashes in all of fantasy. Like probably not particularly close, and I guess Debo was in that bucket too. None of them went nuts in the final week. They were nowhere near the top of raw scores. It was everybody else, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown destroyed Cooper Kupp in raw points in the championship. And so that's why you make these little bets. Like to Pete's point, is just like, I have no idea how it's going to play out, but I want to correlate my bets and make them all kind of fit together well. And you do get a benefit of them being team level. If Trey Lance is awesome, I know we don't have him. That's good for Debo and that's good for Davis-Price. And so you want to also correlate those little things. We're
rooting for Jimmy in this team. We want Jimmy to come in, and all the Trey Lance teams are dead.
Everyone wants Jimmy. He's the starter in San Francisco. We don't speak of the backup.
Jimmy's completion percentage over expected is pretty good. It's pretty good. You know.
Well, and I showed that team in my video that finished top 10 in BBM3 last year that had literally 11 combined players from 2 teams total, the Packers and the Bengals. And you could go down the road. These guys are negatively correlated. They made a macro bet on 2 teams that wildly exceeded expectations, and they made it to 10th in a very top heavy tournament. And again, I'm not saying to replicate that for this year, but that macro bets on teams is a very viable strategy. I think we're just all scaling it back a little bit. We're not doing 4 or 5, but I've been doing all kinds of teammate pairs on my teams.
I think cost is important, mainly when it pertains to quarterback and running back. I think the biggest mistake people make is like, I took James Conner, now I'm going to take Kyler Murray. And like the ceiling events for James Conner and Kyler Murray are quite opposing, at their cost. But like if you take, I don't know, Darrell Williams or Eno Benjamin or Keontae Ingram, it's a very different discussion.
What about, I feel like Fuller not correlated because it's not a team.
I take Fuller on like every team, so I obviously
take Fuller on basically every team too. What else?
I love the thing about the stands being it's like, but I also take Will Fuller on every team.
Yeah, but you want him on this team when this team gets through.
I swear to God, Fuller doesn't land with Las Vegas or Miami, I'm going to be so pissed.
It's definitely going back to Miami.
Yeah, he's going back to Miami. Yeah, all the money they paid for all those wide receivers. But it is funny. Him and Wandale are like my two go-to late round wide receivers, and they're both right here. I can't help myself. I mean, with either of them.
That's the other one that I wanted to.
I like Wandale.
We need receivers. We're like
OBJ.
As much as we've played correlation, we maybe haven't played structure well enough.
Young.
I love Gretsch so much. We need better receivers.
We need more wide receivers. How many do we have? 7?
I mean, I agree.
There goes
Robinson goes.
So at this point, I usually take OBJ or Julio.
Jesus Christ.
What about DPJ?
All right, Leone.
Yeah. Can we
had one last week.
Julio might land with the Ravens, and that's some.
Can we take a guy younger than 40? DPJ?
Save that for the Leone draft. Can we take DPJ or even Mechie?
No,
yeah, one of those.
DPJ sucks, but yeah, we could take him.
Julio can't walk. Julio is probably in a walker.
I would honestly have taken either of Pat's old dudes over DPJ. I'm in Pat's.
You guys got issues.
He was like 1.72 yards per hour last year. He was okay. Scored a touchdown.
Well, when you only run like 30 routes for the whole year, of course they look good.
You got to factor in he's going to get hurt in week 2 and come back in week 15 and have the perfect.
Week 17 is all that matters, and Julio's going to play 40% of the
That's why we draft the old guys now. The new fucking meta.
Hey, they're the freshest guys in the league when they come back from their injuries.
Let me win the room back over. We drafted DPJ because the Browns play the Ravens in week 15. All right. That's our third. It's the week that matters the third most.
Do you know the 15 and 16 matchups, Pete? Because I don't
not by heart, but my spreadsheet that I look at has them all. The 15.
So
16,
I keep we have a schedule up on Spike Week. I keep it up still, even though I know all the week 17 games. Just like in a moment of panic, if something were to happen or whatever, I'd like to have it up. I don't know I don't really think about the 15 and 16 games really very much. I know that you think about it a little bit more than I do.
It's more honestly like in that instance, I'm just joking, but I do like looking at which kind of overall schedules I really like. So like Tampa Bay, Arizona, and the 2 LA teams, like their week 15 through 17, they're all either warm weather or dome games. Like it's just perfect. So I do look at some of that stuff, but yeah, I'm not specifically going out of my way for 15 or 16.
The KC, the Chiefs schedule is pretty good for the whole playoffs. So yeah, not like Houston, we need any more reason. Denver. Houston, Seattle, and Denver is pretty sexy. It's hard to imagine those are like no one on their team is projecting poorly in any of those games. Yeah. I don't think.
So you're taking a stand against Derrick Henry. Does his week 15 and 16 schedule scare the crap out of you?
Did we talk about this?
Yeah.
When you get, I think.
Yeah. I told you, I'm taking him some of the
crap out of you.
It definitely doesn't scare the crap out of me, but I mean,
he's got the Chargers and the Texans. I mean, he can just run all over those guys.
The Texans is pretty terrifying. I'm a little bit bullish on the Chargers. I think the Chargers defense is probably going to take a fairly significant step forward. Does that mean that Derrick Henry can't have a big game? I mean, of course he can. But you also talked about like, dude, Derrick Henry, even before the injury, like he was smashing, but I don't know, he wasn't quite the same Derrick Henry. Yeah. And then when he came back, he came back and he was flat out bad. Does that mean he's going to be bad next year? Of course not. But I don't know. I have more concerns about Derrick Henry being Derrick Henry, regardless of matchup, than I do about like, the Texans in week 16. Because I'm certain, I mean, he could go for 204.
And then he gets the Cowboys, Texans. And that might be the Chargers. I'm thinking, they were kind of daring teams to run on them last year, so that might not go so great. And they also had Burkhead.
They spent a lot on the defense. They spent a lot on. They knew it was a hole they needed to fill. So.
I was scrolling back up to the chats and somebody, Matt said, "Let's get weird in the puppy" is the name of our video.
Great
as
comment.
They draft optimally at every pick.
See, I'm savoring it because normally we would have been forced to get super weird in a shift chasing room, and instead we got a regular room and got to execute exactly what we wanted to do. All right. So I mean, we're probably
Dearness.
I mean, Julio Jones it's a no-brainer pick here, guys.
Do whatever you want. We're a little bit weak we're a little bit weak at running back.
I think this is a 6 RB build.
Dearness makes sense on this team. I would take 6 running backs on this team, I think.
Yeah.
Gotta
at least 5.
DPJ stat.
How many do we have now?
Couldn't even say that.
We have 5 and a
I'll
0
wait
RB
until we're on the clock because
just random correlations between 2 shitty ass players on the same team.
Whoa, Gretch is
DPJ sucks. Dearness does not suck.
That's
right. Dearness is good. Dearness is good. I agree.
We got our Miami bet. Sony Michel bet on the offense.
Sony? Yeah, I'm fine with Sony.
Little magic, Eric. Repeat the Sony Michel magic.
Oh yes, this is the winner. If anyone wants to buy equity in this team, it's guaranteed to be a winner. The last time I was on a stream,
but I'm not fucking selling, baby. Yeah. So I do have, I guess, a blind spot with Sony Michel. I think I've heard your case before, Pat, but spell it out again.
It's a pretty simple case. I don't think Chase Edmonds is their goal line back. And so if you just take stabs at Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel and a bunch of drafts, like you probably have Miami's goal line back. And they're also so cheap that I will take them together on teams that are like, 0 running back teams that are hurting a little bit more than I'd like.
A handcucker in our midst.
Well, it's kind of like, I think when it gets that cheap, like if you were to take, you're taking 2 stabs, not just at finding like a guy who has a role, but finding a guy who has the goal line role. I'm way more willing to do it in Miami, where
I kind of like that with the 2 cheap thing too, because there's a correlation there where if Edmonds has a serious injury, those guys could be like alternating lead backs at various times throughout the year. Like they are similar plays of their upside, their contingent value, like could be tied and correlated with each other.
Right. We have a system where he's coming from the Shanahan tree where the traditionally rotated backs. We've had backs each week. It's a system that has produced spike weeks, but also from a variety of backs over the course of the season. It's also, I think, just specifically with Edmonds, like he's so easy for me to bet against as a goal line back. There's almost not a back.
Spags did it. He
did
it.
He?
Yes. Yes. Spags.
All right. Let's roll the splash play clip that I made, or the Drew Lock clip I made. Spags made a splash play highlight clip for Drew Lock, and I had to edit it.
Wait, is that real? You made that whole clip and you edited it just fast?
He made the whole clip, and then I reduced it from about 1:20 down to a 11-second clip.
That's amazing.
All right, if I make a Dulcich clip, you can't do that though. We're playing.
No, Pat. That assignment is still on your desk to make a.
It's still on my desk. I mean, you'll be happy to hear I'm waiting until FFPC season to make the Dulcich clip. I do want the 1.5 PPR scoring for my rookie tight end
for your
selection.
bet. Okay.
Yeah, but it will not be a bit once that clip is made.
All right, Eric, I want you to give us the rundown. Pull up our team here again. Obviously, we talked through it as we went, but give your breakdown of what we did here.
See, this is like what so many of my teams look like. All the week 17 correlation, but to what we talked about at the very beginning, I'm not picking and choosing the games as we start out the draft that I'm targeting for week 17, right? I mean, I like the 49ers and Raiders game just fine, but we let it all flow to us. And a lot of people hate the Dolphins and Patriots game. Like if you were to pick a game that you wanted to target, nobody is really targeting that, but we like the Dolphins. And I don't know, I kind of don't hate the Patriots. We didn't necessarily get the exact players we wanted on the Patriots, right? With Ramondre versus Damian, whatever, but everything fit structurally. Like this is how I think you should draft, is like, whether you like Deontay Johnson or Damian Harris or Dearness Johnson or Tua or Hunter Henry, every pick fit well together. You didn't sacrifice ADP value, and it fit structurally well together, and the correlation all fell together. That is everything we talked about for like the first half hour, is like putting all the right things together, mainly that we talked about last year, right? Structure, all that kind of stuff. And then mixing in the correlation elements. Like, this is how I want to draft every team, basically.
What's cool about a lot of the players you just said that maybe we don't like is that was about half of our team, but about half of our team were sort of player takes. Like, we were like, we want to take Adams, we want to take Debo, and then you make the decisions.
Deontay, Elijah Moore,
right,
etc.
Even Waddle and DJ Moore. It was going to be one or the other, but it was very much we're going wide receiver here. We want one of these two players, and then then you figure it out from there. But you get your exposure to the guys that you like, and then you're still correlating. And I mean, you have to be willing to not try to make every of your 18 picks be like correct, like we were talking about. But that doesn't mean none of your picks are like player stands or anything.
Yeah. And I think one of the things for me that I sometimes struggle with is like, I do have player stands and I want to make my player stands, but like, I also have like player preferences. Like, I prefer Breece Hall over J.K. Dobbins, but I don't feel that strongly about it.
Yeah.
But like, keeping track of that player preference is sometimes difficult. Like, like if I think it's like 55-45, am I drafting like that? Like, do I need to go check? Am I like wildly overexposed to Breece Hall compared to Dobbins? But like, using the correlation with Dobbins, like Pete, you were like immediately like, look, we got the Dobbins correlation. That like stuff like that. Like, I think it's just like helpful. Like, even if it doesn't come to pass, it is like that mini correlation hitting. Like, just I do think it's like helpful in guiding your overall portfolio.
And there were multiple times during that draft too where I was like, this is kind of a gross spot. I feel like you could have made the case for 3 to 4 different players, 2 to 3 different positions, a couple different times. So it's like, if you have your player preferences and your player takes, there's still going to be plenty of logical ways to plant that flag during a draft without, really sacrificing something bad. Sometimes it lines up perfectly and you're like, yeah, let's just do this. But I think there's tons of times still where, I find myself doing that a lot of times with the 0 RB guys too. Like, we all have our guys that we end up liking there.
This might be dumb, but trying to like propel the discussion forward a little bit or think through the next things about it. I mean, it was sort of similar to my dumb comment at the beginning where we had Adams, Debo. Should we intentionally not correlate them, right? Like, that's a little bit aggressive, but everyone else who's doing that might correlate them. But the one thing that caught my eye and that I go back to when I was looking at our roster was the Renfrow pick, where I don't think in DFS in a given week I would play a Carr Adams Renfrow stack necessarily, because Renfrow to me is not that guy that I necessarily want to throw in as a double stack target. He's the guy that on a week where Adams' target share is down or Waller's target share down, he's kind of sucking up the volume, but he's not going to be like a big play guy, that good secondary, target, and we still played a pretty big price on him. Is there an element now rather than just like, okay, this player correlates, let's throw him in, where you start to actually think about how he correlates? Do I want to pass on him? The counter to this, Eric already kind of gave earlier when you were talking about how at one point you were talking about how it could be different weeks. Like, Renfrow could be the guy that helps us in week 16 and Adams. So it's a little different than DFS, right?
And I mean, the Bengals were the perfect example last year with kind of Chase and Higgins ping-ponging these just massive weeks. And that almost goes back to the macro correlation thing, right? We're just making a bet that the Dolphins and Raiders massively, exceed expectations this year.
Yeah, especially because we don't have an elite quarterback. We don't have any rushing at the quarterback position. So actually, I'm really glad we have Renfrow with a Carr Tua team, because like, we're going to need Miami and Oakland to be like, or Las Vegas to be like huge overperformers all season long.
I'm actually really glad you brought this up, because this is my biggest pain point, probably still. Like, it's maybe overconfidence, but I have quite a bit of confidence in kind of my approach to all these different things. Week 17, right? Structure, whatever, all that shit is kind of almost silly at this point. But this is the one where like I bring my DFS brain exactly like what you said, Ben, where it's like, dude, if I'm making a DFS team, I'm not playing Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen with Kirk Cousins, because like Adam Thielen can't outperform every other 7K wide receiver if Justin Jefferson is outperforming Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill, right, and Devontae Adams and whatever. And like, obviously they're very different games, but my brain comes from that space. So like, that's how I think about things. It's like, I took Devontae Adams in the first round. I need him to be a smash. So if he's a smash and I take Darren Waller in the 4th round, how can how can Devontae Adams be the best first round pick if I'm thinking like this pure total nut optimal outcome, right? And so there's a balancing act in that. There are outcomes like last year where T. Higgins goes for 40 in week 16 and is awesome. He was awesome all year, but then also goes for 40 in week 16. And Jamar Chase is awesome all year and goes for 50 in the fantasy playoffs. But it's easy to get tied to that because we saw it happen in like a very hyper specific scenario. I always love to joke about the Devontae Adams thing, right? Like, oh, this 3rd year wide receiver really sucks ass. But remember, Devontae Adams was awesome, even though he sucked ass for 2 years as a 3rd year wide receiver. I'm trying not to get too hyper focused on that, but I also don't know that I have the right answer. I tend to lean more to I'm not trying to overspend on any one offense. I tend to lean there. I don't want to have 0 like Chase Higgins in my portfolio. I definitely don't want to have 0 Adams, Renfro, whatever, but I'm very cognizant of how much I'm spending on an individual offense, particularly given the best ball tournaments we have right now, right? It's not last year where there's less than 200 people in the finals. There's 500 people in the finals. On DraftKings, there's a fucking 1,000 people in the final. It's huge. So like, I'm being more cognizant of it this year maybe than I even was in the past.
So that was a really good monologue, so I want to let you finish, but that wasn't my point at all. I would take Adams and Darren Waller on the same team because of the types of players there. What I was saying was,
I'm not going to let you
have a player. Did you mute yourself while you were
muted
talking?
himself. Wow.
I think he was calling me an idiot while he muted himself.
Yeah, I like that.
I was saying, I'm fine with Adams Waller because of the types of players they are. But what I was saying was have like essentially a correlation type player take on a guy like a Hunter Renfro specifically. Like it's a player take, right? Like it's a I know better type thing with your correlation. Is that another step that is worth taking?
I think it's an interesting. So I think I would align it with like player archetype, right? Putting players into archetypes, right?
I would take Adams and Waller on a counter to this point because I think they can both have multiple touchdown games in the same game, or whatever. I'm not sure, like Renfro's ceiling to me overlaps. Is more
negatively correlated with Devontae because of how they get there, right? How they get to their ceiling is very different, and their position is also a really important factor in this, right? A tight end ceiling, like what you need from Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfro as a wide receiver / flex, is very, very different than what you need from a tight end score.
So, like
right?
the Jefferson Thielen example you gave, like I wasn't thinking about that way. I would play Jefferson Thielen. To me, would be the same example as Adams Waller here, but Renfro to me
positionally it's different. But positionally it's different, right? Thielen, Waller is a tight end who, like, if I get 17 to 20 points out of my tight end, like you're probably
kind of a tight end as well, isn't he? Though?
Well, yeah, except you have to fucking play him at wide receiver. Spoiler: there is a wide receiver you get to play at tight end. You can draft him in the 3rd round. He plays for the Atlanta Falcons. But like the Adam Thielen thing is like I have to pay up. Not in best ball, it's different. It's a bad example for drafts because he's not that expensive. It's much more of like the Chase Higgins. It's like I'm spending 2 of my top 3 round picks on this offense, and so I need them to both be that good or like a truly insane scenario of them ping ponging, which is pretty tough.
It seems lower likelihood. I'm trying to think of other like examples, but maybe Amon-Ra is one where like if I'm on Swift, I'd rather be Swift Hawkinson than
Amon-Ra.
Yep. And I would even go so far as to say that if I'm on a Mike Williams Herbert stack, you obviously can't make this decision after the fact, but I don't know if I want Keenan at his price. I think I would want to build LA cheaper with my extra pieces.
Everett.
I disagree with that
Everett.
only because they're going to be so uncommonly paired that if you did get a chance to draft both of them because their ADPs are right next to each other, different thing. But you're just not going to see many of those teams.
Okay,
I think of it as like a sliding scale similar to DFS if you're using a bunch of your salary on a premium double stack, where it's like the more expensive the stack is, the more you need that team to score and outperform expectations. And the cheaper it is, the more wiggle room you have. Like you can look at the Alexander Madison, Pollard, win rates and stuff from last year. It's like they give you that 1 or 2 big games at that cost. If you drafted them in the second round, their win rates would have been awful at that. But at their cost, all it takes is those two. So it's like the less capital you invest in it, the more you can get away with not getting the insane ceiling games consistently.
But is there anything to this archetype point, or is it trying to be too precise? That's sort of the thing I'm trying to drill down on.
I like this.
I think it might be too precise.
But I also think Liam's got the point of like, because I feel the same way. Like, I just don't want to draft on a run. I don't like his archetype, period. I don't like it for half PPR. So it's more like, I love Devontae Adams' archetype. He scores a bunch of touchdowns and gets a bunch of targets. His archetype is fucking awesome. Yeah.
So here's my thing about the archetype. I agree structurally, not just like on the micro team level. It's the same. It's Erik's favorite line. What does James White do for this team? So he's like the James White of a strong wide receiver team, right? Where it's like, we're loaded up here. That's why I kind of was like at one point too, like Pickens looked attractive to me too, because it's like, could Pickens be a 3rd or 4th round pick next year? I think so. Like probably. Whereas like, can Renfro? Probably not, So just thinking of that too, of like what type of profiler are we grabbing here that could realistically see our starting lineup? That said, I have a feeling Renfro will definitely crack our lineup a few times throughout the year.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel way better that we have Carr and need Carr. Like even if we had Lance Carr, I would feel less good about it, because then it's like Carr is almost just like our bet is going to be more primarily on the better quarterback. But we like need the Raiders to be really good this year.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, and again, with all of this stuff, like there's contingent value, if Waller were to get hurt, stuff like that, where all of a sudden Renfro is now all of a sudden back into a bigger target share than we expected. Like you do have those outs. And that's why too, like I don't want to pigeonhole myself out of any combinations just because of stylistic or archetypal fits, right? Because you still always have that contingent value too.
That's the hardest part. And the contingent thing is very difficult because it's easy to say, and like we all understand it as we're talking through it. But well, you're terrible at archetypes, Liam. Cooper Kupp's a pretty fucking good archetype for upside. The guy.
I don't know if you know about guys who score 400 fantasy points, but they're pretty good.
I don't know. Maybe you should learn archetype and stop playing chess. But it is really difficult. The archetype thing is really difficult, and these conversations are the ones I think are the most important. Like even like the stuff we talked about with week 17, it's important, but it was more so a little bit of trolling. This is like the hard part. Like you tell everything that Ben said about like, does Hunter Renfrow fit on this team? Makes perfect sense to me. But then like when we take another view through it and you're like, we just bet on the Raiders, right? There's contingent value. There's all these reasons that makes sense too. What's the right answer? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's hard. Because Renfrow could have a big week 16 and be the reason we get Adams and Carr stacked through, and there might not be a lot of Adams Carr stacks through because they didn't have Renfrow, and then we end up winning with Adams.
What we're trying to say is, what if Renfro's the guy you need?
But part of me does lean towards Renfrow being a good pick, because at least for like any team that I'm a part of, because I am never taking Renfrow. Like anytime it's like Renfro's always cover for whoever else I'm hoping falls. So like if there's a spot where I'm like, Renfrow actually does make sense here, I do feel like he probably makes sense, because all my biases are telling me not to pick him under normal conditions.
I do have more Renfrow than I probably care to admit, because I'm massively overexposed to the 49ers and Trey Lance. So he's like the, oh shit, I don't have any Raiders, you know? I mean,
if I don't take him here, I have to take Josh Jacobs.
It's like,
that's the pick.
it gets way worse. If you don't take him, it's like your options are Kenyon Drake, Zamir White, Demarcus Robinson. Like it gets real bad if you don't take Hunter Renfrow.
I think Keelan Cole's got that job.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Like I said, it gets real fucking bad if you don't take.
I'm not drafting Keelan Cole, but I'm also not drafting Demarcus Robinson.
Me either.
The point you made about like needing more based on how much the cost is for that stack, like the higher you pay, the more that you need. That does have me like, because we just saw it with the Bengals, like that does make me feel like, you know what, I'm fine getting some of this Chase Higgins double stack. I also saw Drico and Liam, and I think Eric, you were talking about not being super in on that stack. Like the fact that you guys like aren't that in on that stack also makes me feel like, well, maybe I'll get one of these guys.
Yeah.
I'm facing
Hayden's not in on it. Hayden's not in on it. A lot of people are not in on it.
This is where we're to our small field DFS tournaments where we all out level each other by Sunday. Where it's like, oh, I heard him getting Steved on this GPP show, and now I can't.
This does feel like to me where I'm like, I think I am drafting that double stack because like all these sharp people aren't, and we know it has the ceiling. So, but I guess my like, is there pushback? Like, is the ceiling that we saw last year and the way it was ordered, like, is that just like so random and unlikely to repeat again that we should probably just like go back a step and go, hang on, we're asking a ton from these guys for the cost?
It's a great question. Liam says he doesn't care about cost for stacks. I don't agree, but I don't have a, like I said, I'm coming from this DFS lens.
I can pull up a tweet that breaks it down pretty clearly here that Jack Miller just posted as far as how important the getting positive value on stacks is here.
But that's value, right? I mean,
that means like, reaching on stacks means you're in this poor bucket here.
There's reaching or like the fact that like, let's say you got Chase a pick past ADP and Higgins fell in the third.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right. I see what you're saying. That just you're paying a lot for the stacks, but you're still getting it at appropriate ADP value.
Go back to Jack's tweet. That was interesting because he was defining neutral as within 16 picks of ADP. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty big window. I don't know.
That's a big window.
Probably has samples, but that neutral bucket is still okay, and that's a whole round and a third of. So if you reach a round, that's saying you're still not like sacrificing a ton. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's more just like, it's a good reminder to not go wild chasing these correlations, just knowing once you open yourself up to not caring about specific games and you can do any of the secondary correlations, there's avenues throughout the entire draft where you never have to force it. Like, I don't think I've ever done one where I'm just like, fuck, like I have nothing. I don't know what to do. I have no options or whatever. And even if that's the case, like sometimes I'm needing to get a Minnesota guy and I miss Osborne and there's just no one left. That's fine.
Yeah, but you're fucking Neo of correlation, dude. You're like reading the fucking Matrix. Like every time we're doing a draft together, you're like, oh yeah, it's this guy, obviously. And I'm like, what the fuck? That would have taken me way longer than this 30-second clock. I would have figured that out halfway through the next round.
Was it?
That's my favorite. I take that for granted.
The song with the Week 17 matchups.
Oh, Lou,
Lou
did that. So good. I have to pull that up. This was great. Lou put together a little mnemonic device. So if you don't have the cheat sheets with you, we didn't start. Carolina, Tampa Bay, Cardinals getting Chick-fil-A, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Saints got to march to Philly. I messed that up. Dolphins, Pats, will it snow? Mini at Lambeau. Somehow Spags made it in here. Texans, Jags, win Spags, pump my Bengals, Bills bags. Jets, Hawks, Ravens, Pitt, Giants, Colts. Are they it? Lions, Tigers, Bears. Oh my, when you win, will you cry? We didn't stack Week 17. No, we didn't stack it. We failed to bring it back. So good by Lou there.
Oh man, I like the LA. There's an LA one. It's like, what's the?
That's so good.
Dallas. Yeah. Oh, I wrote this one. We were brainstorming on this one. Dallas at Tennessee, LAC. Chiefs play Broncos, who will win? Browns go play in Washington.
So good.
That is
So
amazing.
So Erik, yeah, tell the people you guys got a full set of programming going on over on Spike Week, but everyone wants to know win tools.
Yeah. Can I share my screen real quick? I can,
yeah.
So I can tease a little something. So this is the first version of this tool that we're building. We're still polishing up a couple of things, a few little functionality things. I just have my underdog. So this is literally my underdog teams. I've drafted 53 teams. You see $865. And I'll go to this first just because it only has dummy data in it so far. But we have a couple different tabs that you can see here with like kind of my drafts and exposures. And so I'm really excited actually about this exposures tab. Like I said, it's just dummy data. You see just a bunch of Derrick Henry stuff.
Very excited about Derrick Henry, apparently.
Clearly, I'm drafting a shitload of Derrick Henry. This was trolling. This was trolling by the designer and the developer is putting Derrick Henry into my mock-up.
That's hilarious.
But you see, like, you'll be able to see everything about your entire portfolio. Like, obviously, this is just the players, but all your stacks, like the exposure you have to every single stack, the exposure you have to every single structure. I always say that I don't have the right. Would you call this a roster build? This is what we just did. Roster build like 2592, and then structure being 0 RB, hero RB, whatever. But you'll be able to see. You see, they joked around with calcium RB and different stupid names, but like then also seeing how your playoff correlations look, how many of the each game in week 17 you have, and you'll be able to actually like pull up and look and see. I click on, right, if this were Kansas City, Denver, I click on this and I would be able to see the teams that I have, like specifically that are Kansas City, Denver teams. And then just from within the actual drafts, like you can you'll be able to upload your own rankings here and then see like everything about my top-down portfolio. Like you can see, right, I have 6% Jonathan Taylor. There's a rounding. This is obviously
ever want to know Pete's O face, but unfortunately
this is incredible.
So I wanted to show it just because you can see like it's almost like a draft buddy kind of thing. Obviously, you can see your exposure, but like there's a bunch of cool shit, right? Like I here you can see like look, some of this is actually not very good. You can see my average ADP of Javonte Williams versus his current ADP. I have not been taking him always at ADP, right? But Justin Jefferson, I'm getting good value on Justin Jefferson. Saquon Barkley, I'm getting good value on Saquon Barkley. On and on down the list. I can see that for every single player in my ranking set. Trey Lance, there's Trey Lance.
Marquise Brown, you're taking too high, which you told us on the stream,
right? But that it tells the story. You can see all of that. You can see the playoff schedule is here for you if you want to keep this up instead of the playoff schedule, right? I can see who Jonathan Taylor plays in week 15, 16, 17. I see ADP changes. And then this is honestly kind of my favorite. I just tweeted out about this. I can see on each site. So you'll be able to filter by Underdog, DraftKings, and we're adding drafters as well. Like all of so you see here, obviously a Jonathan Taylor team is not going to be a 0 RB team, right? Yeah. But 100% of my Jonathan Taylor teams start with 2 running backs. So like I have 6% Jonathan Taylor and they all start with 2. The first 2 rounds are running backs. And so like,
I don't
powerful.
know that.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah.
I literally didn't know that until 2 days ago, until I got that.
And now you quickly see how exposed you are to like Barkley, Aaron Jones, and those 2-3 turn running backs, Javonte succeeding. Whereas you could have a Jonathan Taylor smash year, but say that grouping fails, like, man, that's such powerful information.
Yeah. And so you see, it's also really funny that I'm not that worried as much about the running backs. I mean, I don't want to have 100% 2 running back starts with JT, but it was funny to me. You look at Cooper Kupp versus Justin Jefferson versus Jamar Chase. Like almost all my Jamar Chase teams are 0 running back. That's not the case with the other 2 early round wide receivers. And it's like, well, why would Jamar Chase be the only one that's getting all the 0 RB teams? And why is Cooper Kupp getting all these 2 running back starts, right? Do I want
love
that?
this
Probably
because I like in a draft, in my perfect world, I would be able to kind of like randomize some of the structures for that. So to quickly go check here on a Jamar Chase and know, oh, maybe I'll get an anchor, running back build here in the second or the third every now and again to kind of balance the textures of my Jamar Chase builds. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You'll also be able to see those specific combinations. So on this, it's the only other thing I'll say. On this exposures, you see the search here. This doesn't work yet. But you would be able to type in, it says team or up to 4 players together. I could type in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins,
so cool.
whatever, and then it will filter all this data down here to say, okay,
God.
what are my stacks with that combination of players? Or
Sick.
what are my structures with that combination of players? So this is like super, super, super close. I keep kind of teasing it, mostly just because I'm like selfishly excited about it. But it's coming like, I don't know, not even a week. Hopefully it'll be out. That's
gonna be
that everybody.
This is so fucking awesome.
Consiglia are asking the tough questions. How much is this tool going to cost?
I'll tease it only for the ship, just because I love the ship chasing
Promo code
people.
ship chasing.
The promo code ship chasing. We're going to be launching a full-fledged premium product, which will include this tool and other tools. Actually, don't know if I can pull up some of the ADP stuff. I just want to see if it's working right now. We have a bunch of like ADP. We're building a bunch of shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So like you'll be able to see specific. Let me see if this works really fast, just to pull it up for shits and gigs. So you see here, by round, you'll be able to see like ADP tools. Let's look at who's available in the 6th round right now on Underdog, and you can see I mean, Antonio Gibson used to be going 30th overall, and you see now he's in the 6th round, right? And so there's and like I can X the dudes out. Okay, I don't want to look at Gibson. I don't want to look at Mooney. That's great. But so we have ADP tools. The rankings are going to go behind the paywall. There's a bunch of shit. We're just doing a lot of stuff. Like more than me have been putting in a lot of hard work. So like I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the guys putting in all this. And it's going to be $25 a month. I know I was bearing the lead. Like everything that you're going to get like forever for Spike Week is going to be $25 a month. So yeah, very, 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 very soon. Thank you for letting me share it, because I was excited about the progress.
Now you get to get the Gretsch treatment, where we tell him that his newsletter is too cheap. We get to tell you that the tools are too cheap.
We do. The Matt comment about wonder if he should file divorce or wait for his wife to push it once the tool goes live. I do think the barbell strategy that we're all big fans of, like this kind of gives you something to do instead of just like firing off too many best ball drafts in the first week of training camp, right? It's like you can use this time to actually analyze like what you need. Like, okay, you're prepping for your final push of drafts. Like I think I'll like plan out I need to get some more Jamar Chase here running back starts or whatever it is.
Right.
And you've got like you're like prepped, you've got a game plan.
Yeah. And I do think too, like that is really the next frontier of the stuff we're going to be talking about, is like portfolio balance and stuff like that, because you would never, would some people run 150, the same stack in game stack and DFS? Yes, some people would do that. But as far as like pure entertainment purposes and stuff, like you do want to be relying on the structure and some of these edges you have and building through those in different ways. And to have a tool like this that can actually quantify it and not like I just do it off a feel. Like I think I normally don't take this guy here.
Me too.
But
and I mean I've never had to manage this many basketball teams because I can't do Underdog, as we all know. But I would imagine, like I hear you guys talk about how it's kind of tough to draft as much as you have to get enough of these teams in. But the way that I feel like this tool would add a ton of value for me is that I'd go look at this and then want to get in more like I'd have ideas for what to do in my next set of drafts. Like you're constantly then being pushed, to help you hit your number of entries that you want to get to. You have now a mission for your next couple weeks of what you need to do to smooth out some stuff. So
and also and smoothing out and getting the ideas, because like I do get like, I'm nervous to put this in and see how much Will Fuller I have. You know, it's
well, you can see that without that tool.
No, but but there's a reason I haven't checked Pete. Yeah, so there's
to that point, it was like I can see how much zero running back I have, and it's like, well, I thought I was drafting this much, and like to Pete's point, you're like doing it in your head, but like it never looks like you. Like, I mean, shit, we just talked about like I'm literally drafting like what I thought was a shitload of zero running back teams or hero running back teams, and then the data comes back, and I'm like, fuck. That's not what I thought that this was going to look like. Like I thought it was going to be like tons of zero running back with Jefferson.
I thought I'd be at 90% zero RB, but I'm at 80%. I need to get that.
Did you see all the hero? Like, did you see all the? Not even just hero, like hero running back. I'm like kind of okay with. There's like tons. So like our like dual running back is 2 in the first 3 rounds, or I think 4. It's somebody asked about the definitions. I can get those to you. We're still working on the definitions. I want to make sure the data makes sense, right? It's we're massaging all of that. But like, I thought it would come back with like a bunch of 0 and hero RB, and it did not come back that way. And so I was like, but my strategy is 0 and hero RB. And if I'm not implementing my strategy how I think I am, I need to know that. And there's no other way for me to know that right now.
Do you know what you should do, Eric? We should have, how like ESPN and I even though RotoViz does it, they have their like ranking summit. You should host a best ball summit where you get some best ball thought leaders and we hash out what we're all just going to call these. And just so we can all agree upon it for data terms, for clear use, like it would be really nice to get everyone on the same page.
Oh my God. I posted about this specifically for this. And
that sounds like the worst fucking summit to be at. Oh my God.
I'll be there.
I'm not going to be there.
So, I'm not saying a fucking word at that summit because I posted one tweet asking about it, and it was the most miserable experience of my life.
That sounds
Here's what I'll say for the definitions of yours, Pete, in your video. I went because I was asking Michael Dubner about the EV calculations, and so I then had the calc, but I just knew what the builds were, and so I went to make sure I had the calculation right. I did all of the like 0 running back, hero running back builds, and I by intuition got to your builds like very quickly. So I feel like your definitions were pretty on point for those structures.
Yours were very, very similar. We had like very minor differences, like super minor differences.
Yeah.
Tiers.
I mean, the truth is at the end of the day, people, they like arguing about the name because they don't want to engage with the ideas themselves and what's happening. It's much easier to argue about a name, as we know is your RB.
To the chase thing, like there is that feeling of, because I experienced this a little bit last year. I don't think there's really anything worse than being like, like let's say this is a 0 running back year, just like the 0 running back year. Was it like 2015? What was the running back apocalypse? Like there's another running back apocalypse. Like you need to have 0 running back teams this year, and it's like 0 running back crushes. And I love Jamar Chase. I'm gonna have an incredible year, and then to realize
and you don't.
Oh, I drafted a bunch of hero running back teams with Jamar Chase or hyperfragile teams. I mean, that's like why would you would never do that. You would never go into the season intentionally doing that.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Well, very excited for that. You guys can obviously should be following Erik on Twitter, checking out Spike Week, all kinds of stuff over there between live streams, the tools, articles on the site, lots of fun overlap with the Deposit Kingdom guys. I know our guy Silas is over there doing stuff. We got Rob, Jonathan's doing written stuff. So awesome best ball community over there. Definitely check it out. And this will not be the last Spike Week ship chasing crossover stream we do this year. We'll definitely get things running back probably in about a month again, right in the middle of best ball summer. I say we run this back. Gretch, Pat, anything else on your guys' radar here?
Nope.
All right. I'm doing a randomizer draft with Davis tomorrow. He's threatening to pull a Silva on me. Come help me shame him to tweet out dumb shit and have fun. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you guys next Wednesday.